Welcome back to another edition of the Night Report podcast. I'm your host, Mike Broadbent. Joining me once again are my co-hosts, Richie O'Leary and Alec Crouthamel. Another day, another pod. This time, a little bit of somber news. Jordan Walker, team captain in 2025, has announced he is entering the portal. He has 1 year of eligibility left. One of those stories that every Rutgers fan seems to kind of love to root for, because everybody's always asking about every walk-on, and this is a walk-on who went from playing receiver to tight end to defensive line to becoming a starter to becoming a captain. And I'll admit they are heartwarming stories, but Jordan Walker leaves after what I can only imagine was a really tough season for him. Didn't put up the stats I think anybody was expecting out of him, but easy guy to root for, and wherever he ends up, I think we'll all have a new second favorite team. Before we get into what went into his transfer, I want to shout out our sponsor, FanDuel. A lot of odds boost tokens that are out this weekend. You can get a 30% odd boost on the Ohio State-Indiana game. You can get a 30% odds boost on any other game in college football if you want to parlay a bunch. And then there's a bunch of parlay token or profit boost tokens for the NFL games tomorrow. So definitely an easy stay-in weekend in this crappy weather. Just bet on some games, why not? But let's talk about Jordan Walker, Rich. Jordan Walker leaving the program. What went into his decision to leave?
Yeah, it just seems like they're trying to revamp that entire defensive line room for the most part. The lone holdover right now would be Julian Campenny as defensive ends coach, but they did get rid of Colin Farrell. They're going to try to
too.
Well,
or is he the outside linebackers?
He's the defensive tackles. So you're right.
Okay.
He is there. Forgot about him. So, yeah, I mean, it's just a matter of he wants to play, he wants to start. He's probably not going to do that at Rutgers. Now, you look at Rutgers' scholarship chart, and it's like, wait a second. The guy that led the team in sacks last year is not going to start? This is weird. But in reality, they're going to hit the portal. It's the most obvious thing in the world. They're going to do it all over again. They're going to try it with I don't know who they'll end up landing, but they're going to try adding at least 2 edge rushers. They also have a couple young guys, up-and-comers, between Callaway and Beck, who they just added. Collier, RJ Johnson, Kanan Edwards, all guys last year. So that's 5 freshmen that are going to be designated as freshmen next season. Add in Digibril Abdul Rahman, who's been pretty solid. DJ Allen, who kind of got snaps towards the end of the year, and they'll have to just go to the transfer portal. But it is a little weird to see a guy go from walk-on to sack leader to team captain to transfer portal. So it is a little odd, but he wants to start, and I totally get that, and I just don't see a path for him starting. Now, it sounds weird because the starters aren't on a team right now, so it's really weird to say that, but he wants to play significant snaps, wants to start, and he's going to go somewhere, and we'll just wait and see where he ends up. It wouldn't shock me if he ends up at a Power 5, Power 4 school, so I think he'll do pretty well, just as long as I think we can all agree he's not in the Big Ten. I think we'll be okay.
Yeah, no, for sure. Alec, what are your thoughts on the Jordan Walker transfer?
Yeah, it definitely seems like someone who just kind of wants an opportunity to get some big snaps and start for his final year of eligibility. He's got 1 year left. He made a lot of big plays over the last couple of years. In that Minnesota game, I believe he was the one who recorded the sack in the end zone to get the safety. That ended up being a really big time swing in the game against Minnesota as part of that turnaround last year. That clinched a bowl game, I believe, and then or was on the way to clinching a bowl game either way. He against Purdue, he batted down the pass that ended up getting caught and then fumbled and then recovered to win the game against Purdue. Like you guys said, he led the team in sacks last season, and I want to say he was the highest graded, one of the higher graded defensive linemen. One of the highest graded defensive linemen that played big time snaps, him and Keontae Hamilton both last year. So, and then, with some of the new guys, he saw his snaps decrease. He was also dealing with an injury, I believe, towards the end of the season. He missed the Maryland game and then didn't really play a whole lot of snaps in the last 2 games. So, yeah, it's a really cool story. Coming in as a wide receiver, like you mentioned, then going to tight end and then just switching to defensive end and just slowly getting better and better. Shiano went out of his way to talk about that any chance that he could about that, the story of development. And that's why you bring in walk-ons like that. And, kind of off topic, but that's why one of the reasons why he's so against the roster limits and all that stuff. So, he's definitely developed himself into a quality pass rusher at the FBS level. So I'm encouraged, or I'm interested to see where he goes next. And, obviously, rooting for these guys wherever they go, because talking to Jordan Walker, he's always been a really good interview to talk with. It was clear this year he had command of that room. Like he earned the captainship. I think that's the word, captainship. Either way, he earned that captain status, and it really seemed like the guys gravitated towards him. He had the respect of all those guys in the room, and yeah, obviously just hoping for the best for him wherever he goes.
Yeah, same. Seems like an easy guy to root for. I always appreciated how verbose he was with the answers he gave, and how there's just so many guys in the Rutgers program who are kind of like beaten into submission with their personalities. Like they're just like drones. Like they essentially just like they just repeat the company lines, and they don't want to do anything to get in trouble. And I totally understand where they're coming from. But Jordan clearly is the kind of kid who knows how to give articulate, interesting, thoughtful answers to questions while also staying in the scope of what Shiano wants them to say. Not putting any bulletin board material, not saying anything inflammatory, not saying anything that would get him in any way in trouble, but still able to give good answers to questions and stuff that like really helps out you guys. So there's not many guys in any program at any given time like Jordan. So I do want to shout that out as well. So he's just like, if he wanted to get into like media after he retires, I think he could do that. He's really good at handling the media, and very comfortable with you guys in all the interactions I've kind of seen and heard.
Yeah, and I think the biggest example of this was after the Oregon game when they gave up 750 yards of offense. He was upfront about it. Like some of the quotes from the story that I wrote after that, he faced the media and he said, "I'm sick to my stomach. I didn't even know that was a real phrase, but I'm actually feeling that." That was one of the interesting things after that game. Obviously, we know what happened in that Oregon game. And he said, the one thing he said that kind of stuck out to me, I got to make sure all my guys are doing what they have to do, just be ready to play football, because you could see it didn't look like we were ready to play football a lot of the plays. So just that he was very, very upfront and honest and comfortable talking to us. So that's what I'll probably remember about him. Yeah. Like I said, he you could tell he had the respect of those guys in that defensive line room as a captain.
I also want to give him a lot of credit, and I know we just talked about his entire story before, but like most guys, when you move positions, going from like hypothetically, or I shouldn't say hypothetically, what he did from tight end to defensive end, or like what, no matter what it is, when you move from like offensive line to defensive line, when you're switching the opposite side of the ball, most of these guys are kind of just like, fuck this, I'm leaving, I'm out, I'm done, I'm not doing this anymore, and he decided to just buy in, and he bought into the whole program, bought into the process, bought into the, is better for lack of a better term, the chop, and just turned into a really solid player. I'm really eager to see where he goes. Like I am going to, I think we can all say it like we said before, but we're all going to root him on. Just anyone in the fan base pretty much too. Like he's just a very good, genuine kid. And I'm really, really eager to see where he lands. I really hope he ends up in the Power Four. Again, didn't want to see him on the opposite side if I'm a Rutgers fan, but yeah, other than that, I'm eager to see what he does.
I think he's from upstate New York, right? So maybe Syracuse.
I don't think he's upstate. I could be wrong.
I think he is actually. He is a native of Rochester.
Upstate?
Yes, he's from Rochester, but he went to Milford Academy for a post-grad year, I believe. But either way, he went to Milford Academy before he arrived at Rutgers.
Right.
I think that's all we kind of got on Jordan Walker, though. I want to give a quick coaching update, but some news items. There's a lot of shifting around that's going on right now. As if you've been following along, Matt Campbell has been named he hasn't been named yet, but
he's been named. Well, they put out an announcement technically, so.
Well, Iowa State named their new coach before they announced that Matt Campbell was leaving, which I thought was interesting. They hired Jimmy Rogers away from Washington State. For Washington State fans, man.
That's weird though, because so technically I'm still on the Penn State email list. They sent it to me last night that it's official. Like Pat Kraft sent out an email to the university, I should say.
But so that that's going to cause a shakeup. Jason Candle looks to be the favorite to land with UConn. I know we talked about potentially hiring. That's not happening?
No, I mean, no, wrong gesture. It's done. Yeah, it's
okay. It's a done deal.
Yeah.
So the defensive coordinator, Kears, I think his name was a guy that we had named on the last pod. I think he's in the running for the head coaching job now at Toledo. So that's something to watch.
He's also in Lincoln right now, interviewing for the DC job. So
interviewing for Nebraska. Joe Rossi, Pat Fitzgerald announced that he will be retaining Joe Rossi as the defensive coordinator. So that's another name that we discussed that is no longer on the table. Richie is about to publish the defensive line hotboard. If you wanted to talk at all about the defensive line names, defensive line coach names, rather.
Yeah, it's ironic because
there were some interesting updates there too.
Yeah. I had.
Yeah, you want to go into that, Alec?
Me, Alec.
Well, Alex,
I mean, Richie.
Some interesting updates.
I was going to say two of the guys that we
whatever.
were discussing kind of got fired. So, Richie, you wrote the hotboard if you want to go more in depth on that.
Yeah, I wrote it a couple days ago. Or I shouldn't say a couple days ago, probably about a week ago. And I'm like, all right, these are pretty good names. Like, yeah, they could probably steal Minnesota's defensive line coach. And then yesterday, I'm like, fired Minnesota's defensive line coach. And I'm like, wait a second, were they bad last year? And I look, and I'm like, 11th in sacks, very talented havoc rate, very good in tackles for loss. Just recruited a top 50 defensive end. What the fuck is going on?
Yeah, Anthony Smith's going to be a high draft pick. It doesn't make any sense. And I reached out to some Minnesota folks I know, and they're in disbelief. They don't know why he got fired. I reached out. I was like, hey, there's nothing like really bad behind the scenes here that, because we're making our hot board. I just want to make sure we're not putting somebody on the list who has some kind of court case that, will be announced soon. And he said, no, there's nothing of the sort. They're confused by it, and they're still trying to figure out what happened there.
Yeah, that's the big question mark, because obviously PJ Fleck is the head coach there, and Greg Schiano, PJ Fleck, protege, yada, 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 son, father, duo, whatever. So, if there's something bad, of course he would tell Greg immediately. Yeah. But, I mean,
and also
great.
It's great, and look what they did against Rutgers this year. Rutgers allowed 7 sacks to Minnesota, right?
Yeah. It's a very talented defensive line, and he's been producing at just about every level he's went at. Mm-hmm. When he was at UConn, he was really good. I forget the specific names that I actually know the specific names. Ironically, his top 2 guys at UConn were both Rutgers guys, sort of, in connection. Travis Jones, the former offensive line commit, that turned defensive tackle, that turned 3rd-round pick in the NFL. And then there was also Foley Fadukasi, who was a late 5th-round pick, obviously, Olakunle Fadukasi's brother. And I think he's still with the Jets. And I think Travis Jones is still with the Ravens. So,
he is, because I just picked him up in my Dynasty League with IDPs. We have a full IDP roster, and I'm actually starting him this week. There
you go.
Yeah, some injuries.
Also, connections to Rutgers, and this is where it really just starts to all piece together. Coached with Harris Simiak at Maine for a couple years, where he was the D-line coach. Also was the Delaware defensive line coach from 2013 to 2016. Who was Delaware's coach from 2013 to 2016? Dave Brock. So
sign him up. I'm convinced. I'm done. We're getting him as a D-line coach.
Yeah,
Richie, great job there.
I don't know if we actually
really hard work. Let me tell you.
I don't know if I actually said
that Rutgers. Okay.
I was going to say, I don't know if we actually said the guy's name. Dennis Doughton Carter is his name.
Carter.
Yes.
Coach
yeah, we didn't. Yeah.
I can confirm Rutgers has not reached out to him as of right this minute. This is Saturday afternoon at 11 o'clock. So just so we know, just clarifying. I have connections. Andrew Jackson, Penn State defensive analyst. You're probably like, do we really want a Penn State defensive analyst after the last 2 that we just took stunk? And one's still on staff somehow. No offense, but offense. So anyway, Andrew Jackson actually has a really good track record. He's coached at Stony Brook, Penn State, Fordham, Mississippi State, James Madison, Old Dominion, West Virginia. He was West Virginia's lone bright spot when so many bad years under Neil Brown. Also, a little Rutgers connection here. 2021, the sports administrator for the football program was none other than Kelly Zinn. 2021, he was the defensive line coach at West Virginia. So I'm sure they know each other in some capacity. But in terms of his development at West Virginia, he had them I think they led the Big 12 in sacks in 2023. 2023 6th-round pick Dante Stills, I believe was actually committed to Rutgers at one point, if I recall correctly.
I think he was, yeah.
Yeah, but he was a West Virginia kid, so it kind of made sense for him to go to, West Virginia. Defensive tackle Jordan Jefferson, who ended up actually transferring in 2024. But for his first 3 years, he was pretty good. Went to LSU for a year, became a 4th-round pick. And Akeem Mestador, defensive lineman, edge rusher, ended up transferring after they fired the entire West Virginia staff and is now at Miami. Projected NFL draft pick. So, talent developer. Led the Big 12 in sacks at one point. Really good connection between, between Kelly's Inn, kind of, if it happens, if that's really a connection or not, I don't know. And then, of course, spent time at Penn State now, so Big Ten ties. The other 2 names I really like are Kenny McClendon, UConn coach, coached alongside David Rowe at at Valdosta State, where they ended up winning a D2 title. Pretty good track record there at UConn. You can read more about that on the boards. And then Brian Cox also got fired yesterday, which weird. So the Giants decided that they're going to put the blame this week on the assistant defensive line coach and not the defensive line coach, because it's the assistant defensive lines coach's fault that they only drafted 3 defensive tackles in the past 5 years, and they didn't develop anyone other than Dexter Lawrence, who's been there for God knows how long. But pretty good defensive line. I mean, for the most part, like Dexter Lawrence is one of the better defensive tackles. Brian Burns is one of the best edge rushers in football. Kayvon Thibodeau's looked better. Abdul Carter, minus his off-the-field nonsense, is a good player. So a little bit of a weird one. The only issue is he hasn't coached in college ever, but he was defensive line coach for the Tampa Bay Bucks in Greg Schiano's 2 years there. Last time they hired a guy that didn't have I'm not comparing resumes. He's not Pat Flaherty, but Pat Flaherty had a 23-year gap from the last time he coached college to now back at Rutgers. So it's not impossible to go from the NFL to college and be a good coach. Maybe there's a little bit of magic there that he could kind of work similar to Flaherty. Maybe not. Kind of just that one's more of a shit meat wall type situation. And then Harlan Bauer, Duke defensive ends coach. Edison, New Jersey native. Right then and there, it's like an easy sell. Spent a year at Rutgers under Kyle Flood as a QC. Really good talent developer down at Duke. Coached under Elko, was a holdover under Elko, and then coached under Manny Diaz. Also coached under Elko at Texas A&M. VJ Anthony, their defensive end, and their other defensive end, Wesley Williams, have combined for 220 tackles, 55 tackles for loss, and 25 sacks over 4 years with Bauer as a coach. Pretty good. VJ Anthony has also been projected as high as a 3rd-round pick in this year's draft. So, I don't know. Some names. So we'll see what happens. Maybe none of them, maybe one of them. But I think we can all agree that that this might be a pretty damn good hotboard for a change.
I like it. I'm a big fan of it. Hopefully it doesn't end up being a total stinker like last year where we, spent all this time on hotboards and then, we signed up, Greg's old drinking buddy, not literally, being a little bit of an asshole there, but you need some new blood in this program. You want some new results, you need some new blood. So hopefully Schiano's learned some lessons there. The money will be there. Now it's about, he's proven he could sell his program to recruits. You got to be able to sell your program to coaches too. And you got to make your program a desirable landing place for coaches that have actually had success on defense, because you've proven you can help elevate guys in their career. You've proven that you have the money to pay them at, the highest rates, maybe not the highest, coordinators, but you're going to get paid up there. You're certainly not going to be underpaid at Rutgers. Now you just gotta go get them. You gotta go get those guys to sign up and be a part of your staff. All right, well, that's all we got today. I want to remind everyone, once again, we are running a giveaway. There's going to be 4 prizes. One's going to be the Eric LeGrand $25 gift card, a Geo Baker signed basketball card, a sports jersey of your choice of a current or former Rutgers athlete, whether it be Dylan Harper, whether it be Colin Guy, whether it be Dylan Grant, whatever.
I didn't even think about NBA. That's a good idea.
Yeah. And then the 4th is a year on the night report. Now, here's how you can enter. This past week, Spotify rolled out its Wrapped for 2025. YouTube did the same thing. Apple did the same thing. You can get up to 3 entries in our contest. The first way to do it is to screenshot one of your recaps. And if the Night Report podcast is on your top 5 or your top list, that gets you 1 entry. And if you screenshot Spotify, our podcast, and you prove you've given us a 5-star rating, that gets you another entry. And if you screenshot the Apple Podcast app with proof that you've given us a 5-star review, that'll get you a 3rd entry. So you can get up to 3 entries in this. You can send it to us on Twitter, just through a post and tag us in it. You can post it on your story on Instagram, tag us in it, or you can email us the proof at tkronrivals.gmail.com. Those are your 3 ways you can enter. And we really thank everybody for helping the show grow in 2025, and we wanted to give back to you guys as a show of appreciation. But that's all we got today. Thank you to Alec. Thank you to Richie. This has been another edition of the Night Report podcast. Signing off.